Good morning, grade 9, my advisory. Let's continue with our topic. This is actually in genetics, and we are in the dominance and recessiveness. Okay. Again, when you say recessive allele or recessive gene, it is actually covered up with a dominant allele or dominant gene. So it will only manifest, okay, take note, it will only manifest in a progeny or siblings, okay, if an organism is a homozygous for a recessive allele. If both parents have the same, okay, again, if both parents have the same allele or recessive allele, that's the only time that this recessive allele will actually appear in the progeny. Okay, this trait or a trait is symbolized by one letter usually. This is usually, okay. For instance, an ear loop may be represented by letter E, dominant E. Its allele may be written with the following manner. Okay, two capital letter E symbolizes homozygous. Why homozygous, sir? Because it carries only one allele. Okay, one allele, a pure allele. Okay, capital letter E and small letter E, which means this is a heterozygous. Why heterozygous, sir? Because it actually carries a dominant allele and a recessive allele. Okay, so it carries two alleles or two genes at the same time. So this is considered as heterozygous. And two letter E, small letter E, it means to say that it carries a recessive allele. Two recessive allele, so it is actually what? This is now the time that in the progeny, you can actually see the recessive allele, okay? Or it will manifest in the progeny. Since pre-air loop is dominant, it is represented by capital letter E, while attached air loop is recessive, so it is written as a small letter E. Multiple genes, okay? We are actually composed of multiple genes, okay? Polygenic traits, okay, are traits that arise from the interaction of multiple pairs of genes. We are usually what? Composed of multiple or polygenic traits. Okay, the inheritance of characteristic is determined by a cumulative action of many different genes, each with a small individual effects. This is referred to as polygenic inheritance. Polygenic inheritance again is caused by polygenic traits that we actually inherit from our parents. Right? Some characteristics with this type of inheritance include height, your weight, your body shape, metabolic rate, meaning if you're fat, if you're slim, those are your metabolic rate, because metabolism can be actually inherit from our ancestors, from our parents. Skin color, suppose 3 dominant genes like DEF control the production of dark pigment for melanin. The recessive alleles for these 3 genes, recessive, is DEF with small letters, result in light skin color because lower amounts of melanin are produced. So, like for instance, in the example, we are given DEF for a dominant gene or dominant allele for dark skin color. Okay, so the recessive allele for this are small letter DEF, which will result to light skin color because there are less, okay, there are less melanin produced by the skin. So these are just few, right? Thus, DDEEFF genotype has a maximum amount of melanin with 18 very dark skin, and a DD, small letter D, small letter E, and small letter F genotype has the lowest amount of melanin and is very light skinned. Okay, how about capital letter D, small letter D, capital letter E, small letter E, and capital letter F, small letter F? Or, so to sum up everything, this is heterozygous. Okay, genotype has a medium amount of melanin and is intermediate in skin color. Or it is actually carrying what? It is actually carrying a recessive allele. Okay. It can actually what? Pass on from generation to generation. Do you have any questions so far?
No, sir.
Questions? All right. Gene mutation. Okay. Gene mutation usually occurs if there are some problems with the genetic code. Okay, let's take a look at how this genetic mutation or gene mutation happens. In rare cases, an organism may have a genetic trait totally unlike anything that is seen in other members of its species. Okay, this uniqueness is a physical manifestation of changes at the biochemical level, which are called mutations. What's with the mutation? What are the different kinds of mutation and how this mutation happens? Let's take a look at this one. Mutations may either be somatic or germline. Okay, somatic means to say that it is diploid. Okay, somatic cell, somatic mutation occurs in any body cell except for the reproductive cell because reproductive cells are called germline. Okay, it is not passed on to the offspring and will cease to exist when the parent organism dies. So it carries, you are actually carrying that somatic mutation, but then again, when you die or when an organism dies, it will just cease. Okay, it will not continue its progress or progeny. Right? So one good example is the 6 fingers. Okay, have you seen a person with the 6 fingers?
Yes.
It is actually one of the somatic mutation. What else? How about divided chin? Divided chin. Okay, it is one of the somatic mutations. What else? Birthmarks. Those are somatic mutations. Okay. Germline mutation. Let's take a look at germline mutation. Is also known as germinal mutation. Occurs in the reproductive cells and is transmitted to offspring or to the offspring. It may be passed on from one generation to another. Hence, it is referred to as a hereditary mutation. Okay. If it is in the germline or in the sperms and eggs, so this mutation can be passed on from generation to generation, and it has a fatal effect. Okay. The following are the several factors that affect mutation. Number 1, okay, exposure to high energy radiation. Okay, gene mutation can be caused by exposure to specific radiation that causes DNA degradation or degeneration. What else? Or destruction. Or it changes the genetic composition or the genetic code. Okay, just like when you're exposing yourself in a gamma radiation. Okay, this is the concept of hawk. Are you familiar with hawk? Hawk is actually,
No.
you don't know Hawk in the Marvel heroes?
Hawkeye?
Marvel superheroes?
Wait,
Hawk
the
is
one with the wings, sir? Oh, Hulk.
no.
Hulk. I thought Hulk.
So Hawk is actually exposed in a radiation. He is actually exposed in gamma radiation. So because he is exposed in gamma radiation, he actually mutated a lot, changing everything even in his physical appearance. So what else? You're exposing yourself to gamma radiation. Number 1. Number 2, you're exposing yourself to X-ray. Okay? X-ray can actually cause mutation. This is the main reason why pregnant women are not allowed, or they are not allowed to have an X-ray if they're carrying the baby around the first trimester of their pregnancy. Why? It can cause birth defects. That's the reason behind. What else? Your phones. Okay? Your phones can actually create mutations because it actually emits what? Emits microwave. That is the reason why it hits up during when you call, and it hits up when you use your data and your Wi-Fi. Okay? Just be careful of putting your phones on top of your head while sleeping. This is common. Why? Because it creates irradiation. You're exposing yourself in irradiation, and again, it is directly towards your brain. It's really harmful. Chemicals as mutagens. Okay? Mutagens are agents of mutation. Among these mutagens are formaldehyde. Okay? I have here formaldehyde at home. So that is the one being used to fix or preserve some specimens. Peroxide, mustard gas, marijuana plants or cannabinoids, okay? And nitrous acid. Or nitrous acid is a byproduct of sodium nitrate digestion. Okay? Sodium nitrate is a preservative, okay? Preservative widely used in meat products. In the stomach, okay, sodium nitrate is metabolized into nitrous acid, which act as a mutagen. This is the main reason why your fast food chains can cause mutation and is highly cancerous. What else? Your preserved meats, ham, bacon, those products contain what? Nitrous or sodium nitrate, which can actually convert it, or our body can actually metabolize it to convert nitrous acid, which is again one of the major agents of mutation or mutagen. Nitrous acid eliminates or removes the um, nitrogen group, adenine or cytosine, changing their composition and ultimately altering the base pairing DNA. Okay? If we take note, if we alter the base pairing, this base paired, okay, nitrogen base pairs in our DNA, there are a lot of cases that these are really fatal. Okay, changing the genetic code is really fatal. Adenine and cytosine are two of the four nucleobases in DNA. Each specifically pairs with thymine and guanine respectively. Like for example, adenine is always paired with thymine, and cytosine is always paired with guanine. If there are some changes of this, tendency is mutation happens. And again, mutation in animals, including us, is very fatal. It can cause death. The third one is induced mutations. What's with the induced mutations? One form of induced mutation is the recombinant DNA technology. Okay? In this procedure, the DNA from one kind of organism is treated with enzyme to isolate a specific gene. This gene is then introduced to the genes of another kind of organism. The added DNA recombines or aided by enzymes with DNA which already present on the organism or originally present in the recipient organism, which is consequently considered as a mutant. So this is under genetic engineering. Okay. So what's with induced mutation? There are a lot of cases that induced mutation is used on organisms in order for the organisms to be cured, number one, to repair itself, number two. So these are used in genetic engineering for the purpose of what? Quality life. Okay. Non-Mendelian inheritance. Okay. In 1865, Gregor Mendel, okay, is a priest. Gregor Mendel is a priest, right? Published the result of his experiments on pea plants. Hang on, I will just fix my laptop first. Again, Gregor Mendel published, okay, his experiments on pea plants, the Pisum sativum, okay. To the experiment, he developed 3 principles that describe the transmission of genetic traits, how these genes are actually transmitted. Okay. Sure, why in a pea plants? Well, if you're going to ask me about that, animals respond quickly than humans, or than plants respond quickly than animals, including humans. So they actually perform the experiment on plants rather than humans for the benefit that this actually occurs rapidly in plants rather than in animals. Okay. The first one is the principle of dominance and recessiveness, the one that we had discussed. Okay. When pure parents with opposite traits are mated, the first generation, or F1, shows only one trait dominant while the other trait is recessive or hidden, or it is just there. Okay. It will not manifest. Otherwise, mated with the other heterozygous. Okay. The second one is the principle of segregation. Okay. When you say principle of segregation, gene pairs or alleles of traits separate, and the only one is inherited by the offspring, which is true. Okay. It actually separates by itself, and only one trait, okay, will be inherited by the offspring. That's according to Mendelian. This is Mendelian, ha? Mendelian pa. The third one is the principle of independent assortment. The traits are inherited independently of each other. We don't really know what the orientation of these genes, how do these genes orient themselves, because these are highly independent. Okay, it happens during the crossover, the crossing over of genes. Okay, however, okay, take note. However, not all patterns of inheritance obey these principles. Okay, many observed traits are the result of combined expressions of alleles. This pattern of inheritance, or inheritance of traits that do not follow the dominance and recessive relationship between alleles, is called the non-Mendelian inheritance. Okay, just like the codominance and incomplete dominance. So let's take a look at this one. Incomplete dominance and codominance. Incomplete dominance occurs when one allele is unable to express its full phenotype. Okay, again, what is a phenotype? We discussed phenotype last meeting, right? We discussed phenotype last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Right. So what is a phenotype then?
A group of alleles.
Again, come again, Rabi.
A group of alleles.
A group of alleles. Okay, what is really the definition of a phenotype? What is the definition of a genotype? Anybody? Please turn on your camera, everyone. What is a phenotype and what is a genotype? Okay, you need to familiarize them. I didn't ask to memorize them. I just want you to familiarize them. When you say, again, a genotype, it is the complete set of genes by an organism. If these genes manifests or express physically what you can observe, it is actually considered as the phenotype. So when you say phenotype, these are what? These are the physical, or these are the observable traits. Okay, these are the observable traits of an organism. Like for example, the color of the skin. Okay, but it is controlled by a gene. Okay, the gene that controls the color of the skin is actually called as the genotype. But the color of the skin that you have observed is actually the phenotype, the expression of a particular genotype. Did you get the point? Did you get the point, everyone? Okay.
Yes.
Again, incomplete dominance occurs when one allele is unable to express its full phenotype, meaning to say its full what? Its full expression of a particular gene or particular genotype. Okay? In a heterozygous individual. This result in individual with a phenotype, okay, that is an intermediate of the two alleles, meaning at the center of the two alleles. One good example is, okay, one good example is a cross between a red gumamela, okay, and a white, okay, gumamela. If you're going to check on them, okay, it actually covers up again the expression of red and the expression of white, creating all pink. So the phenotype there is pink. Okay, the phenotype is pink, controlled, okay, controlled by heterozygous, okay, red and white. Heterozygous, red and white. So that's incomplete dominance. It covers up, okay, the phenotype expressed there is actually covered up. Okay, so you will have your expression, okay, covered by these alleles. Okay, you're going to look at it. There's no white or there's no red there. Okay, what you can see there in the phenotype is pink. So there it is actually incomplete dominance. Okay, it covers up the expression of a particular phenotype. Right? Did you get the point, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move forward to codominance. When we say codominance, it is a form of dominance, okay, wherein two alleles are equally strong and are both visible in the hybrid genotype. Genotype again means complete set of genes. For example, when a white chicken is crossed with a black chicken, the result is not gray chicken. Just like when you are actually seeing the one that we actually crossed a while ago.